Hello YouTube, it's William here with Go Over Numbers Trains. Today we're taking a look at, reviewing, and running the Pennsylvania Railroad's T-1 Duplex by Broadway Limited Imports. Among the most ambitious locomotives ever produced by the Pennsy, the T-1 class featured 4444 duplex-type steam locomotives. Built between 1945 and 46, the T-1 saw an overall production run of 50 units. Originally designed by Raymond Loewy, the as-delivered T-1s featured heavy streamlining and shrouding over the running gear. Later in operation, design changes were implemented to make the engines easier to service, such as steps in favor of the portholes on the pilot and the removal of many of the folding sections and shrouding over the running gear and tender. Here, the as-delivered T-1 is brought to us in an accurate and faithful representation by Broadway Limited Imports. Key features on the model include prototype-specific detailing, smooth running, gear drive, CAN motor, DCC decoder and sound, lighted number boards, headlight, operating running gear, die-cast shell, separately applied and cast-in details, and crisp lettering, which includes legible builder's plates. The model that we're taking a look at today is as-delivered T-1 number 5503, which includes a Paragon 2 decoder. I purchased this model brand new a few years ago for the list price of $300 US. Before delving into the more subjective aspects of the review, Broadway must be commended for putting out such a prototype-specific model. It's difficult to do in order to justify the cost of tooling, but in this case, it was definitely worth it. The end product is nothing short of stunning. BLI really did hit it out of the park with this model. The detailing is absolutely stunning. The shell is primarily cast metal, not sure exactly what variety, but it's very hefty, and it sports an incredible amount of both separately applied and cast-in details. The running gear is infinitely complex and looks absolutely spectacular when the locomotive is in motion. The decoder, while now slightly out of date, sounds very well and allows an incredibly precise amount of control over the motor. Speaking of the drive is very quiet and is nearly silent, especially when the decoder is active. Additionally, the locomotive sports two blind drivers in the center and a traction tire on one of the rear axles. This results in an absolutely insane amount of pulling power, as well as the ability to navigate curves down to a 22-inch radius. The drive is smooth and effortless in power, and as you can see, has an incredible amount of slow speed control. Honestly, I'm still floored to this day by just how slowly this locomotive can crawl. The tender drawbar accommodates 3 different positions for the tender, allowing it to navigate curves as tight as you would like. In addition, you can also gain more prototypical distance by moving the tender slightly closer to the engine if your curves are wide enough to allow. As stated earlier, BLI has put out a really incredible product. However, it's not without its very slight flaws, of which I have 2. The first one is slightly severe, and it has to do with operating the locomotive. As stated prior, the shell is made of die-cast metal. However, for some reason, the pilot is unshielded, and as it sits very close to the track, on slightly uneven track, the pilot may dip down and short the engine out across the rails. I solved this by placing a small piece of electrical tape and cutting it to the size of the pilot. The second is the whistle. While the decoder functions very well and the bell sounds great, I don't enjoy the whistle as much as some of BLI's other offerings. The 3-chime used on their J1 is the pinnacle of what a steam locomotive whistle should sound like, and unfortunately, it is absent here. It's worth noting that the Paragon 3 model does include the same 3-chime that would have been prototypically used on a T1, so if you're looking at purchasing one, that's the version I recommend you go with. Despite these things, all in all, I couldn't be happier with this model. It truly is a stunner. If you're a PRR fanatic or are just looking to add an impressive piece of unique power to your layout, I strongly recommend picking one of these up. You can't really go wrong with one of these locomotives, as they're absolutely incredible, and I'll say it a million times, I love mine. Anyways, that's going to be it for the review. We're going to go ahead and head over to the sound check and running demo, and I hope you guys enjoyed the sights and sounds of the T-1 in operation.